Sometimes there is a word that everyone hears, but very few people actually understand what it really means. Communism. For some, it is a system of justice. For others, it is a great experiment in history. But the main question is, what is communism, and have we ever actually seen its true form in history? Let's understand this in a calm, emotion-free, but completely clear way. Brain emoji, the core idea of communism. According to communist theory, in society, all property should belong to everyone. There should be no class differences. The state should eventually disappear. Everyone should receive according to their needs and work according to their abilities. Simply put, no one is extremely rich, and no one is extremely poor. On paper, this looks almost like an ideal society. But real life does not always behave like paper. Why did this idea appear? Communism became especially strong after the Industrial Revolution. At that time, the rich were extremely rich. Workers were working in very harsh conditions. Social inequality was extremely high. Thinkers like Karl Marx and Engels said, this system cannot continue like this. And so a new idea was born, a more equal system to replace capitalism. But here is an interesting paradox. The idea aimed for equality, but the systems that were implemented were often far from equality. Were communist states really communist? Now we come to the most interesting part. In history, countries like the USSR, China, Cuba, and North Korea are called communist. But the question is, were they actually communist? If we look at theory, the state should disappear. A completely classless society should exist. The economy should be fully collective. But in practice, strong state apparatuses existed. Leaders and party elites formed. Social differences still appeared. So, ironically speaking, the state was supposed to disappear, but instead it became even stronger. Because of this, many historians argue that these countries were not classical communism, but rather socialist state models. The USSR example. In the USSR, there was a planned economy. All major industries or state-owned. Education and healthcare were widely accessible. But at the same time, freedom of speech was limited. There was no political competition. Economic efficiency often faced problems. So the system had both strong advantages and serious weaknesses. This raises an important question: does equality replace freedom? History still does not give a definitive answer. China and the mixed model. China chose a different path. Officially, there is a communist party, but the economy operates with market elements, includes private businesses, is open to global trade. In conclusion, the ideology is communist, but the economic system is mixed. This shows that ideology and real-world practice often do not follow the same path. Conclusion: does communism work? Now the main question. Does communism work? In theory, there is equality. There are no class differences. Social justice is high. But in practice, the risk of power centralization increases. Economic motivation can weaken. The system often changes or becomes moderated. Therefore, history gives us this conclusion. Communism is a powerful idea in theory, but in practice it is a very complex and constantly changing system. Final words. Sometimes ideas look perfect on paper. But when the real world tests them, the result is different. Communism is one of the best examples of this. And perhaps the most important question is, should we evaluate the idea itself, or its implementation?